Frankly, I don't know how to give a general answer to that question because that depends on the transition to the profession that you wish to make the switch to. So that perhaps is, that varies from profession to profession. I can only speak of my profession. The one thing that perhaps I think is very common to my generation, and perhaps even more common to the next generation, is that the basic or the standard default degree has become the engineering degree. So clearly there are too many engineers out there. And I'm not sure that the supply is the same as the demand, or rather the demand is the same as the supply. And two, there is a clear dearth of, as he rightly said, quality options in other sectors. Three, thanks to what has happened since 91, 92, the purchasing power has increased, and therefore the ability of people to think beyond the conventional choices has increased, and therefore you're trying to cater to multiple tastes and choices. That opens up quite a few options as far as career options are concerned. So that is one. But most importantly, in my own profession, I typically say, and I could be wrong, is that litigation, so law is not a monolithic profession. There are multiple models, but litigation in particular is like acting and politics to a significant extent. So the first few days you sleep on the bench in Bandra, hoping to have a house in Bandra someday. And during that phase of struggle, you take every possible, I can't use the unparliamentary word, that comes your way, and you put up with everything. And to a significant extent, you're putting your hope in hard work and the unknown. Because the options and the opportunities that come your way, frankly, is a consequence of somebody's belief in you, or somebody takes a liking for you, or that you just happen to be at the right moment, at the right time, and the right place. So destiny, luck plays a huge role. But what certainly makes a difference, and here I would quote Mr. Ramjit Kulani, is the amount of effort that you put in is significantly proportionate in most circumstances to the opportunities that you create for yourself. So after a point, literally speaking, sky's the limit in the profession, provided you have what it takes to survive the profession, not in terms of acumen or brains, because that's only about 50% of the equation. The rest of the 50% is patience. The rest of the 50% is stamina, mental stamina, to be able to put up what the profession throws at you. And the rigors of the profession are extreme. So a 13-hour working schedule is something that you have to take for granted, assuming that you want to do well in the profession. You just want to be run-of-the-mill lawyer, do what you want, that's a different issue. But you really want to make, or let's say carve a niche for yourself, you're looking at nothing less than a 16 to 17-hour work schedule, and that's not the exception, that's the norm. That's the default standard working model. And weekends in personal life, effectively, you can say goodbye. So you do Sashtang Namaskar to this Devi called Saraswati, and you say, please bless me, give me all that you can. And you keep reading and reading and reading and reading, and that becomes your, effectively, your way of life. You won't realize it where you are in the profession. Others will point out. You'll never know where you are. Others will come and tell you, dude, you're doing okay, don't worry. So what I have realized is nobody else can convince you about the switch. It makes very little sense for anybody to give you a pep talk or a motivational speech. I don't think it works that way at all. You have to be convinced. And if you cannot find the guts or the spine in you to actually make that switch or that jump, there is very little contribution that can come from anybody else. I think there's this famous line from this movie called Chariots of Fire. Man can't put in what God is not. So you can have the talent, there's no doubting it. But what ultimately it calls for is spine. What separates the person who sets up the startup from a person who takes up a salaried profession is less about brains and more about the guts. So that is something that you have to evaluate for yourself.